Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Friday, the 8th day of September, 2023, Friday of the 22nd week of the year, the 22nd week in Ordinary Time. But today, it is also the feast of the birth of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Mary's birthday today. Directly, what would you do? 12 months after, 9 months after her conception on December the 8th. Remember, conception is about Mary's conception, not about Jesus's, because that's the Annunciation. 9 months that pass after her conception, although it is not recorded in Scripture, nor is this day recorded in Scripture. But again, the whole idea about the perfection of one's life is that you move exactly after you are conceived to 9 months to the day so that you be born. So there we go. And then Mary does not die. She gets assumed into heaven on the 15th of August, which kind of just doesn't gel with anything else, but that's okay. But today we celebrate her birthday. Today we celebrate also the birthday of my Father Al, who is in heaven right now. So his birthday and Mary's always coincided. So that was one thing that my nieces and my nephews were always able to remember. Mary's birthday, because it was Grandpa Al's birthday. But today's readings are special for this day. So you get either the reading from the book of the prophet Micah, who basically talks about Bethlehem, Ephratah, being the least in the clans of Judah, now to become greatest because the Messiah will be born from that clan and from that city, as Jesus is. Or else, because it's a choice, you have Romans. And in the Romans passage, basically it is the understanding that for those who believe in God, life works towards the good. Life works towards the good. So the first reading, from, Micah, again, that's which is least becomes greatest, which is, always good. But then also the thing is about those who dare to believe in God, their lives will be oriented towards good. Both of those kinds of things are sometimes troubling and difficult for us to really truly conceive, because sometimes in our world today, those who are least remain least, and those who amount to nothing sometimes just amount to nothing, because our society and culture continues not to recognize them. And so again, there is always this sense in which just the powerful and the mighty are the ones who get ahead. The sense in which also those who believe their lives are always oriented to good sometimes gets misconstrued into this sense of that nothing bad will ever happen to me, that everything will always be good as I understand good, which means no cares, no worries, no problems, which is neither of those two things, can be looked at from such a narrow viewpoint. God raises up, those who are bowed down. God raises up those who are ignored. Again, this is Mary's Magnificat, that she will say to Elizabeth once, she recognizes the fact that she will bear the Messiah. Again, someone who is not of much account, being given this great responsibility. It is a matter of recognizing, again, where it is that God raises up those who are lowly, raises up those who are bowed down, raises up those who are of little or no account, in the world's eyes. And that takes effort, and that takes time, and that takes energy to be able to recognize, that reality and that truth, which can pass so easily unnoticed and so easily without any kind of acknowledgement or affirmation, to it. Again, our job as believers in the world is to continue, the work that God does in recognizing those who are lowly, forgotten, left to the sides and what have you, and to recognize their wonder and their worth, which may enrich our lives in more ways than we can imagine. In the second we're looking at Romans, you basically, have the sense in which just believing God does not mean, or being a believer does not mean that your life is going to be free of any kind of pains or anxieties or whatever it is. It sometimes means that you're going to have to really experience them. But again, are they the last word in who and what you are? Are they the last word in who it is that you understand God has created you to be? That is the good towards which our lives are directed. That being a part of God's life means that nothing will fail in the end, although it seems as if to the world it does. We have to believe differently. We have to believe in a way that the world cannot see, cannot imagine. Because if we do not, then our belief is useless, and everything that is faith really comes to no account and doesn't really matter. That is always, again, you look at Mary's life. It wasn't perfect, especially what instances we have from Scripture. It is one confusing, disastrous, perhaps tragic moment after another. And yet, knowing that it is all for the good keeps Mary moving forward. In the gospel today, we have the genealogy from Matthew's gospel about Jesus' ancestry and what have you. We hear this on the 17th of December. You can also hear it, you should hear it, at the vigil of Christmas, which is usually the 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock children's liturgies. It is disastrous to hear that because all it is a bunch of impronounceable names about Jesus' ancestors. The important thing about this is that there are many people who are ne'er-do-wells in this genealogy of Jesus. And yet it is from even these ne'er-do-wells that God works good and that God allows for the Messiah to come into this world. The perfection is not, in God's plan of being something that there is nothing wrong or there's no problems with that. That is not how we are supposed to understand perfection. It means that whatever it is that is not right or that is perhaps not good is made good, is made right, by God's hand. In the end, the end of this genealogy, while it is one male giving birth to another male, and that's how the genealogy continues, it is said that of Mary is born the Messiah, and not necessarily through Joseph, because in reality, Jesus isn't born through Joseph, but yet Mary's connection to Joseph makes Jesus a part of this genealogy, but yet she is the one whom God gives of this great honor of being mentioned as the one who makes this link, apostle makes this link happen. Important, again, for us to remember, especially as we move through this week, in remembering Phoebe, the deacon of ancient times, and her ability to lead within our church, and how, again, women are the crux upon which, God's salvation is made real, is made actual, is made alive in our world today. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.